Mayor David Anderson,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Maddie Jordan Woods,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Chad Dodd,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
John Durham, Damian Henderson,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Marilyn Pulley,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Kiara Gamshow,
Present, city of Kalamazoo.
and Ricky Thrash.
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We missed something.
No, we didn't. She's here, Antonio.
Oh, is she here? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry
You're
about that, everybody.
Are we okay?
Yep.
Okay. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes. Now, I see that it is saying December 17th, 2020. Jamie, could you explain that to me, please?
I'm sorry, Maddie, where is it saying December 17th?
2020, she said, Jamie.
Oh. I'm sorry, that is a typo.
So we are really looking at the November
November
2021.
22.
Yep, of 2021. I mean,
Correct.
2021. Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
I motion.
So I'm gonna say Ricky motioned and a second by Damian. Is there any
Yeah, I second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You guys, hopefully you were sent the future Zoom meeting calendars. Well, we're not sure if we may be in person, but it's the meeting dates, which they may be in Zoom. So I'll clarify that. For it actually will be for 2022. Does anyone, well, maybe what I should do is, can I have a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2022? Chad made the motion. David Anderson, did you second?
Yes.
So any discussion? Does anyone have a problem with it or any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Now we've got, the next one is a committee meeting update. David, would you like to give that update?
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. I'll take a stab at it. So I think one thing that became evident to us is when Maddie and I did talk about this after our last meeting, is that we do need probably a small amount, but some amount of legal assistance to help us finish our documents and get this whole TIF district in place. And so we did have a committee meeting with a potential legal firm, Dickinson, and I forget the other part of the hyphenated, but.
Right.
David, I apologize for interrupting you.
Go ahead.
Jamie, could you send John Durham another meeting link? He said he cannot find it and he's trying. So I apologize for that.
Certainly. Is IT listening at the moment?
Yes, I'm taking care of that now.
Thank you, Tuan.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
All right. So we had a chance to talk about a little of the specifics with the firm Dickinson Wright that has helped our downtown DAGA and DDA, and also has helped with at least half a dozen of these, what we're trying to organize up in Grand Rapids and maybe some others. So we had a conversation about that. And I mean, I guess we have to decide whether we want to engage this firm or whether we want to look elsewhere. but I feel like we do need, in my opinion, outcome was we do need some legal help to tie up some our final details to get this done. I guess the other piece of it is that there's going to be a cost to this. Just a reminder is that the city has committed to covering the cost of this legal assistance for us to do this. So that part of it is not going to be, we don't have to worry about where's the money going to come from because the city's committed to cover that cost. Does that cover it, Maddie?
Absolutely. And I concur with David that we need someone that can get everything together. I don't want to be repetitive. So,
Okay.
Marilyn,
I have a question. The last time, wasn't the city attorney or somebody supposed to meet? And so they had copies of things that had been done and they were supposed to meet and let us know, where the gaps were?
well, it wasn't that the city attorney would meet. What our committee basically asked is for all documentation to be compiled and put in a binder and gotten to us. And so Paul brought everything up to me that the city has, but even with that, it does not fill in all the gaps.
Okay.
And so we will be, yes, we will.
Need the assistance.
I concur with David. And I know that John Durham is probably still trying to get on, but does anyone else have any questions? Or maybe we can do a recap of the fact of from last month that basically was that there are, to our understanding, 18 jurisdictions who must support, or who we would like for them to support the development of the district, because in their support, then the tax dollars that they would have received would then, hi, John, would be, they would go into the district. And so that is where we are now, and we're hoping, we believe that this firm can assist us with that. And then after that, after we have at least reached out to them to say we are at that point, then take it to the city commission. It was felt that if the city commissioners knew that the other jurisdictions were in support of this as well, that it would be easier. Than they would, of course, they have already said that they support, but then when it gets sent up to the state, then you can say, hey, we have some, and that may be in a written form where the jurisdiction is saying that they on a certain date approve the development of the district. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns about hiring? And NACD will not be hiring. The city of Kalamazoo will be hiring a firm to do this until we become a certified district by the state of Michigan. This, in fact, is a city commission endeavor that we are all participating in. If I don't hear any questions, can I get a motion from someone to hire a firm that will ensure that we meet all of the legal obligations?
I motion.
Can I have a second?
I second.
I will ask again, is there any discussion issues? Hearing none. All in favor? Jamie, do we need to go individually or can we say all in favor?
I am not certain on that.
Yeah,
Do you know?
I would say you probably do a roll call.
Could you do
Seems
it?
like an important thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So Jamie, could you do a roll call?
Definitely. Mayor David Anderson,
Yes.
Maddie Jordan Woods,
Yes.
Chad Dodd,
Yes.
John Durham,
Yes.
Damian Henderson,
Yes.
Marilyn Pulley,
Yes.
Kiara Gamshow,
Yes.
Ricky Thrash.
Yes.
Thank you.
So in all honesty, we went from update to jumping and going into number 8 discussion. So I'm gonna go back up to number 7. And we apparently need a new treasurer and a secretary. We need at least a discussion on it. Jamie has been a wonderful secretary, and we don't have a treasury report because it hasn't gotten to $25,000, but we probably should be discussing that. Paul?
Are you, I'm lost on the agenda. I don't know where we skipped Christina's, infrastructure update and went to the calendar and then went to the attorney. So the thing that I see that we missed is Christina Anderson's infrastructure update.
So actually, it's not on the agenda. What we have is on here is that says 5. Is that the NCBDA Zoom? I mean, that's number 6 was the committee meeting update, which David and I gave, which then I did jump and immediately went into doing a motion, which we passed. So what actually was passed was number 7 on our agenda that asked for a new treasurer and a secretary, or at least for us to enter into a discussion. We probably will not be able to determine that tonight, but we will ask committee members, and if you have questions about it, that you contact myself or Paul. Does that sound okay for the committee?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, Jamie. go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think, Miss Maddie, that you might inadvertently have last December's agenda in front of you at the moment.
Oh, maybe that, okay.
Yeah,
So, well, it's not last December's, but I do have a different, so
Yeah.
on the agenda then, is Christina available? Is
she
she
is
here?
here.
She's
Yeah.
in. Yep.
Hi,
Yeah, she's
Christina,
here.
I moved, I pulled a different thing and it actually was going so well, but
It really was.
it really was going, I think, I don't know how I feel about that, from last year, that we almost are in the same place, but I'm gonna leave that one alone, okay? So we actually asked if Christina would be willing to come and give an update on if there is any developments that will be done in the proposed, because we can't say until it's official by the state, but the proposed Northside Cultural Business District. So Christina?
Hi, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I am here tonight partially on behalf of Public Services. We had some scheduling issues, so I'm going to be the presenter for the streets project in the area. If I cannot answer your question, I will get an answer for you and send it back to the whole group over email, since it's a public services project. And I probably won't have all the information, depending on how deep you go with your questions, but I will get your question answered if I can't answer it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, yes, I have permission to do that, because I want you guys to be able to see this map. It's not pretty, but it is functional. Okay, so what we have down here, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is Ransom Street. Ransom Street is scheduled for a pretty major utility project in the coming years. It's going to be from West Edge all the way over to Walbridge. And the primary purpose of the project is utilities, right? So there's going to be a brand new sanitary sewer that's put in, replacing water infrastructure, including if there are any lead lines that happen to be within the project area, they will change out those in addition to the public water service that they plan. And then, of course, once all that underground work is done, the street gets reconstructed. And that's really kind of where this body, I presume, will be most interested in, because we're going to need to have a conversation about how it gets put back together, what it looks like, and how are the different people who travel on the corridor served, right? Do we need to think about on-street parking everywhere? Do we need to think about wider sidewalks? Do we need to think about different streetscape? All of these little elements are things that we have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to discuss because the street is being reconstructed. So a little more information on the project. So it's being funded because it's a utility project. It's not just city funds that are going to do the project, but also from the state, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund is going to help provide funding for this work. And the project is actually going to happen over the course of 3 years, where next year is outreach, engagement, and design. And there'll be construction in 23 and 24, and I'll show you how Public Services plans to phase it. So the tentative schedule for the project would be, working with this board and the greater community to have design discussions, again, looking at the street, the sidewalk, how the street gets put back together, do the bricks stay, do the bricks go, all of those details, work with the community and this board in spring and summer of next year, and then finalize the details of the design in the fall so the project can go out to bid for a construction firm to bid on it, so the work can happen, first phase can happen the following year. While there are no exact plans today for what that engagement will look like, that's one of the things that we'll start to talk about tonight, and then we can talk about this winter too at future meetings. Hopefully it'd be a mix of in-person activities, small group, large group, perhaps surveys, and allowing people to comment if we're depending on where we are and how we're doing meetings, giving people who may not be able to come to meetings another opportunity to participate. But again, none of that is set in stone yet. So I'm just kind of putting these things out here to have us start to think about them, so we can inform the design consultant of what kind of illustrations we'll need, what kind of materials we'll need, so the conversations can happen effectively. So when construction happens, it'll be broken into 2 phases, as I mentioned. In 2023, the first phase will be from Walbridge to Burdick. So this bit right here, if you can see my cursor. And then phase 2 will be Burdick to Westnedge. And so that will be the timing of the work. There will definitely be some road closures during that time. It's probably a little early to get into all of those details. But it is a pretty big project, and it has the opportunity to have quite a positive impact when it is complete. So I'm going to close this. That is really the biggest project that's coming to this area in the short run. Oh, go ahead, Maddie.
I guess what I would like to know is why aren't they starting at Westnedge in 2023 first?
So sure.
That yeah.
Sure, and Maddie, I don't think I know I'm looking through the notes that Public Services provided me. I'm not sure I know exactly why east to west. I assume that it has to do with the utilities and the connections. And there, a need for them to do it in that direction. But I am happy to find that out for you and go from there. Again, this year is design. So if that is at all flexible, this is the year that you would talk about it and figure that out. So, plans can be adjusted.
Maddie, it could be because when they did the roundabout, they did a lot of that same work coming down and through to Ransom. It was closed. You remember the meetings that we had at the co-op and everywhere where the ambulance couldn't get through? I'm guessing that's what it would be.
I think that what, and it was stated even then, why is it that where the lower income that isn't, where there was already traffic, where there's a store, everything, that why is it that it's always last? And I guess he can come and explain again, but it makes no sense to say you have to start it down there. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
To say. I understand, John, that yes, there was stop traffic, but again, there is a
No, Maddie, wait a
whole-
second. I didn't say that it would stop traffic. I said that they did the infrastructure to this point coming from the east. And I'm guessing they're going to join up at that point and run it the rest of the way. They redid all of that same infrastructure at that point.
And the comments from the residents that have been in the neighborhood was, why are you doing that all down there? You've actually redid it because they had did it once, spent a lot of money, went back and spent money again and still hadn't done on this end. So I'm gonna say that, and Christine, I hope you can.
Yeah, I will certainly find an answer for
bring
you.
that back. The
I am
residents stated-
guessing that
all
John
of
is correct. I mean, this is at its heart a utility project, right? Because of the sewer overhaul and the water infrastructure. And in order for, I am not an engineer, but you have to join right size pipes to right size pipes and the right materials, the updated materials together. And so I am fairly certain that, the order of the project is driven by that detail.
So I guess I'm a little confused because you gave us a presentation where you're starting by where Plaza Corp, everywhere, that entire area, and where, even though the residents have been asking for 15 years on this side of the neighborhood, and all of a sudden, when all the developers are coming in, the city is, oh, this is where we're going to start. So we're right back where we were again. We're right back where we were again, where all the developers are at. That's where you're doing everything. That wasn't even on the books. And yet you have major construction getting ready to be done in that area.
So Ransom Street has been in the queue for this work for, many years. And we've talked about it before, many years. Again, because this is, a underground utility project, that is going to drive the order because of how the work goes and how things need to be connected. What the community and this board, can certainly influence and have a conversation on is when the street gets put back together, the stuff that we all see on a daily basis, what does that look like? What facilities do we need? Do we need on-street parking? Can we do it on both sides and still have room? What are the bus stops going to be organized like? How wide the sidewalks? Do we need to allow for, future streetscape? What kind of potential banners or art, do we want to make sure that we're allowing room for? And then again, the material, Ransom is currently not in all spots, but brick. So a discussion of, does the brick stay? Does the brick go, for traditional road surface? If it goes, can we use the brick in the sidewalks, as a design pattern? There's lots of things to kind of in that realm to talk about for what, the business owners that are along Ransom, residents are along Ransom, the things that they're going to see every day are the things that this group and the community will be able to have, a conversation and influence over.
So it meant nothing that the residents talked about. Why in the world did the city decide to start developing by where Plaza Corp and all of the new developers are coming in? They weren't even on the books, and you've just said Ransom was, but instead, and all of the infrastructure and everything that's being done there, that it didn't matter that it isn't connected, but yet they are on the schedules to start design engineers being come again. So last year when those meetings were happening and residents were talking about, why are you only utilizing city dollars in that area and not ever even coming over here? It didn't matter at all. And it certainly didn't seem to matter about where things should be connected, because you're getting ready to connect all the way up to almost to Patterson Street.
So I'm not, you lost
Following
me
me?
a little bit. You know, again, what I said, that the Ransom Street project, this project has been on, you know, coming for many years. It is a very large project because of all the underground utility work. The utilities will dictate how the phasing works. What we get to talk about is, and what we can influence is the street itself, once they do all the underground stuff. And that we're talking about that from West Edge to Walbridge, the whole way, right? What does the street look like? How do we put it back? And what, you know, what are those details? And so that, you know, that is what this project is and always has been. You know, we can't.
It was bumped.
It was what?
I apologize.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm not gonna kill the messenger. Does any other committee members have, we're
I
not
Maddie,
developers and we have no power. Is there any other?
Maddie, I
committee?
don't think that's fair.
It is
This
fair.
gives us the opportunity for what you were talking about at some of our first meetings about bringing that corridor all the way through. This is their chance to talk about that and work that through. What does it matter if it's a year different on one end or the other? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about ignoring
matters
it.
to, John, it mattered to the residents who have been living in this neighborhood for over 20 years. The city had public meetings to ask about it. The residents asked them to do it. It matters that the residents that were already here, not just the developers who have enough money to put their performance together, to go to closed door meetings where no one is there. And then all of a sudden that it is, oh, you can't discuss this. So I am not, I think what's not fair is that where developers are at, they are getting priorities on city dollars, and it didn't matter that the residents were speaking. They had public meetings over a year ago asking that our neighborhood, on this side of the neighborhood, that it would be done. So it does matter, but it seems to not matter because we are not those developers and those affluent people who can get things changed so that that year, which really is 2 years, because if you listen to her, she is saying that in 2022, there will be discussions and it'll take a whole year to do this. And then in 2023, they will start where all the developers and all the affluent people who chose to put their monies in this side of town, that they hadn't lived here all those times, and they did it, that their ideas, their initiatives are going to be done first. So it does matter. You're right, it's really not fair. It's not fair to the residents who came out when they asked their opinions, and they asked them not to do that. And I'm not trying to kill the messenger, but she put it out there. And it is, and we, you know what? We should say something. We shouldn't sit back and think it and not say something.
I see that board member Pulley has a question for me, but before I answer that, the work that's going to happen, you know, the stuff that we see when the project is done, you know, will run the whole corridor, right? And it might look a little bit different in your neighborhood node around Ransom, you know, around NACD and Park Street Market. That may look different, right, than as you go down the corridor. And you, this board and the community, get to influence that. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear, that is what is up for the discussion. The utility work, which is, you know, very engineer based, you know, that's a sewer that's going to run the entire length of the street. And and will be connected in a way that is, engineering most logical. That's what's driving the project. What gets done on top is for this board and the community to discuss, and it may look different on one end where we have a node and where, you envision, a higher concentration of businesses than perhaps the rest of the corridor. You can have the opportunity to do different designs in different places, if that is what the community and the board wants.
Okay, my question is, for clarification, what's gonna be done underground is not open for discussion?
The new sewer and the water lines are not up for discussion. Those are things that the city infrastructure feels are needing to update those pipes. Run, a larger sewer along the entire length of Ransom to redo the lead service lines, if there are any, as they go through and do their research, and new water lines. Those are, infrastructure that, is in need of updating. That's kind of the given. The underground stuff is the given. What we get to discuss is what goes above ground.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. If they have made up their mind as to how they're gonna do it without input or anything from the board or residents, then just making it look pretty, to me, defeats the purpose.
So I guess I'm not perfectly clear on that comment. The city goes through and looks at its water and sewer infrastructure, and
Right.
when things need to be updated or resized. That is a city-driven project.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Certainly, and then again, what we tend to we want to make sure that the stuff that gets used by those that are walking, taking the bus, driving, is meeting the needs of the area that it's in. We have the opportunity to do that because they're doing that underground work.
Okay.
Someone
said they had a question, but I didn't see who it was. I apologize.
It's Damien. I have a comment.
Damon.
So with me, I kind of agree with Maddie, but just for a different reason. So I live on Reverend Wright Court, and instead of my sewage going to Reverend Wright Court, it goes out to Ransom. And in the middle of the field that the elevator company owns, there's tree roots that broke the pipe. So every now and then it clogged it up in all the sewage bags in my basement. Now the city said until they fix the problem, which has been happening for years, they will maintain the clog every time that happens, but I pay for all the damages that happen.
Mm.
So that's why I would like to see it done on this side sooner than later, is because I'm just tired of my basement flooding with sewage.
Right. And I know that there's, that is a question for the sanitary engineer, if there's any other stopgaps or what the project, how the project will happen. And if when they do phase one, if there'll be any impact in your area while they're working on phase one, right? And I'm happy to find that out for you.
And could we even find out if fixing my problem is even on the list?
That is certainly a question that I can ask. So Reverend Wright Court and how it connects now to the sewer system?
217, yep.
Yep.
There any other members that have any comments?
Yeah, I'll say something real quick. I listened to everybody, and I certainly understand everybody's viewpoint. I understand yours, Maddie, and Damien, and yours too, John. I just know that I do some construction work myself, so I know when they made the roundabout, and if they did say stop the sewer lines and all that stuff right there, that's an end piece, sort of like an extension cord. You can't really start at the other end and then come back and expect the plug to really just meet right there. You have to start where it stopped and go down and get an end piece. So if that is indeed the case, Christina can find that out for a fact and answer all the questions. And again, Maddie, I understand you saying, hey, these people, us, I live right in this community, and it would have been nice if we had started down here like it was discussed, but it seemed like that's maybe gone now. I don't know, but Christina, you can certainly find out. And so I don't want to say it's spilled milk or none of like that, but we could move on. And it did need to be said, Maddie, not just thought about, but talked about as well. You know, not just, you know, a lot of people think things, but won't have the courage to say things. So I commend you for your voice, you know, so everybody can be understood. And that's basically all I really got to say about the situation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mayor Anderson,
Thanks, Maddie. So I think it would certainly be possible to have someone with more technical expertise come and talk to us about that. So I think if we wanted to schedule that, so rather than Christina trying to interpret it or not knowing all the details, I think it would be worthwhile. You know, I will say right off the bat, I have zero expertise in running sewer lines underground or replacing water lines. I mean, I conceptually know how to do it, but I wouldn't be the person to ask where do you start and where do you end, or what size pipe do you put in, or what kind of material do you use. I know, for example, on Portage, that's been torn up for a long, long time. You know, one of the things the city's trying to do is pick a place where there's old, whatever, pipes that break underground and say, okay, this is on our schedule to fix these pipes. And then rather than going and fixing the streets first, you know, you do it when you're doing the pipes underneath. And so you don't go back and tear up the street. So I know on Portage, I'm sure that, you know, nobody talked to the neighborhood about, you know, what kind of work are we doing underground here? Is it an agent sewer, tenant sewer, whatever? I mean, just assume experts take care of that. But I do want to make sure that we do have time to say when it's done. I mean, we've been talking about streetscape now. It's built right into our plan, that when we're talking about the build back, that we have some very particular input about what that streetscape is going to look like. I mean, and I think that's super important for the whole integrity of the district and what we're trying to do. What's it look like? What's the sense of place we're trying to create here all together? And so anyway, as far as just the details on the structural part, I mean, I think some input, I mean, it'd be interesting to me, just some input. How's that work? How do you decide that? And then just the last thing I guess we're going to say is that if we've got an ongoing problem where someone's basement's getting flooded, that shouldn't depend on some big old piece of street work to get done. For goodness sakes, you know, that's, right. We should be able to talk about that separate and say, you know, what's up, public services? You're making somebody live like this, you know, can't we at least patch that section right there and get that done? So that seems like a different conversation to me, and I'm more than happy to, you know, reach out. This is the first time I've heard about it. Sorry, Damien, and reach out to Public Services Director James Baker about that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I would like to chime in just on the whole construction aspect and what it does to residents being inconvened. Not just that, just businesses. I forgot the year. I don't know if it was 2016 or 17 where they completely shut down Park Street, but you know, they rerouted traffic through to give us access, and I think it was over a month. I don't know how long it was, but it was crippling to our business. So I would just like to get the proper heads up. We are in a perishable business, and I just don't want to go through that again because we're in a penny margin business and it's getting worse and worse with inflation and staffing. And I heard earlier in conversation that there was going to be some construction by the store. Is that happening? And when is that happening? Road construction.
So that section, the west section of Ransom is the 2024 work. So Wallbridge to Burdick, Burdick to West Nedge, 2023, 2024. I think that, Kara, you make a very good point. And I think having this body be able to have discussions with the city and with the construction crews to understand when the closures will be happening, how to best communicate them, what are the detours, do the detours make sense? How are we detouring pedestrians and bus routes, not just vehicles, are all good conversations. And, as this is a very business focused group, I think being champions of those discussions as we go through this next year will be important for that. So it's a really good point.
And let me just chime in real quick. And just to piggyback with what Christina's saying, in most of the projects the city does, though, they do talk to the residents and especially the businesses on access points and signage. So that'll be part of the discussion too, is that when they close down the road, you still have access to your house, you still have access to your business. But one thing we try to do in the business area is add additional signage to assist where entry points are for residents to still be able to get to businesses. So the business won't be cut off completely. They'll show where the access points are, and they'll work with, and when I say they, public services will work with the businesses to make sure what signage is where, so that people understand how to get access to the business. The issue is because there's so many pylons and signs, it does get a little confusing, but they try to give access points in particular for businesses so that residents that are trying to get to that business understand where the entry points are at and exit points.
Yeah, and I remember those entry points last time, but I do remember my business dropping over 30% overnight. Yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. I worked on the West Edge back in the day, expansion to 94, and we ran into the same issue, is that you're going to have a drop off because you're going to have less traffic because people are going to try to avoid that construction point.
And hopefully we have, a sufficient amount of time to plan and prepare, think about what that means, what business support is there during that time. And again, really good communication and wayfinding to, stem that as much as possible.
Last question for me. So the project right now, as far as where it ends and begins to 23 to 24, that's etched in stone already?
Yeah, it has to do with funding and when the funding is available.
All right.
So again, it was kind of put in the queue 5 years ago or so. And we set up the capital improvements plan, kind of look out 5 years. What are those projects? As Mayor Anderson mentioned, we, keep track of aging infrastructure or where stuff needs to be updated, put it in the queue, work with the state. Again, some of this has to do with state funding, not just city funds and bonds, but the revolving clean water fund. So yes, unless there is an issue with funding or like we had this past year, we had to delay a project because we couldn't get all of the pieces because of COVID and the difficulty in acquiring shipping, of pieces. We had to delay some big projects because we just weren't going to get the pieces in time to meet the construction season. But those are, we hope those things are outliers and would not, aren't as, I hope they're not normal occurrences from here forward, but yeah. And it's
So-
pretty common for a project of this size to spend a year, even smaller, to take 6 months or 9 months of the year beforehand to do design and outreach.
Right.
So that, that those conversations that will happen in 2022, will help the design team finalize what happens above ground. And then again, everything gets sent out for bid for construction the following year. And the best time to send those out is the end of the year beforehand. That's typically when you get the best prices, or able to get on, construction schedules better, rather than waiting as the construction season gets closer and all the construction firms already have their schedules, and then you're trying to squeeze things in and you get bumped to later in the year.
Just an ending, the key factor with this, and why Christina's here, and sorry we couldn't get the public services to be involved with the scheduling, is that this group will be involved with the discussion and community engagement. NACD would be involved with that, and then there'll be also other community meetings to get more feedback with this project. This is a big project. It's the hopefully, as they say, the final connection point between the east point and the west point of this district that you guys are creating. And it's really critical for you guys as a board to be part of the discussion for this TIF district on the look. One thing that happened with NACD is when Maddie and at the time Northside Economic Potential Group create the wrought iron fencing and green and the red brick, it set a tone for the look of that area. So this is part of that process that you guys you will set the tone for the look of this area that will have a ripple effect on the look of the other blocks as well, just like the grocery store did and the plaza did. All of a sudden, public services, we came in and did the public police station. It has the same look with the brick and the green wrought iron fence and so forth. And then Family Dollar, their development mirrored that development with the fencing and the brick and things like that. So this project is real important for you guys to be involved, because you will help set the tone on literally the look of this corridor in that area going forth. So this is real important for you guys to be involved with the discussion, but also real important to understand that other aspects of NACD, their board would be involved, and then also the community in general will be involved with this discussion. So keep that in mind. But it will set a serious tone on the look of this corridor in that area. And if you guys want to see it continue what's happening on this end of the west, that it continues going down with more, fencing and things like that, what it should look like and things like that, if that's important, and what funding can go towards those initiatives as well. So keep that in mind. You guys will help set the tone for the look for this for going forth, just like the grocery store and all the development around that set the tone at this end. All right.
Is there any other committee members who would like to comment? You know what, Antonio, thank you for that. Mayor Anderson, thank you for that. But I'm going to say again, over 10 years ago, and the residents were asked, they were told that Ransom would be done. And instead, where the roundabout was done. So then the residents was told, well, next time you guys will be up next. And instead what happened, money's then out of whoever, they came back, tore up what was already brand new, that actually the residents had asked to be down on this end. So there, and they was like, well, we got the money, so yeah, we know we just did down there, but there's an opportunity to put the roundabout. So we're going to tear up what we already just spent millions on and put the roundabout in. But the next time you guys, it will start, and it'll start down there. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, that, and yes, you're saying, oh, you'll have this opportunity to make a decision, but here we are 10 years later, and it's been told, no, you don't. Okay, you made your comments 10 years ago, and over 10 years ago, they kept saying you would be next. but you kept getting pushed back because developers came in and they was able to move that around. So I mean, I guess I'll have to wait and see that this committee, the people will be able to make a difference, because that was told 10 years ago when both those times they got pushed back. So I won't beat a dead horse, because I agree with you, Ricky. The decision has been made, but at some point, probably should stop saying that it does matter when residents come out to make comments, and we need them to come out. When we know that if you're fluent and you're developers, you can go behind closed doors, and then all of that, it just gets erased. And so and then you get what are the pieces that's left. So I'm going to end that. Is there any more, I guess, is there any more information that will be had? And Mayor Anderson, you made a comment that Damien should not wait. So would that also include about all the lights that you can't see? Is that going to wait until 2024, or would that be something that could be discussed before?
So I'll take it in two parts. So Damien's question, we will go, he gave me his address and his location, so I'll go to Public Services and follow up with that one down now. Are you saying that there are lights out on Ransom that need to be redone or replaced? Because if so, I can take that list, or I can collect it and we can.
Or they're not there at all. It isn't. It is very inviting and safe looking at the other end. All of a sudden, lights just. I mean, they just. Of course, that's it for the development. But on this end, if you're having to walk, then you need a flashlight. So they were never put in. So I guess I would ask, will that be in 2024 as well?
I would guess that any lighting upgrades would be done with construction. We are in contact with Consumers Energy to understand what upgrades they need to make in the area, how many additional lights. Do we need to look at pedestrian lights versus just the large overhead lights? But I would guess if there's major light work that needs to be done, that it would be done when the street is open, so they can run, if they need to run new wire or whatever it is, it would all be done at once.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
Paul, did you have a question for me?
I just wanted to make sure that Public Services has a copy of the draft plan prior to. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. I provided them with the neighborhood plan and the other details from the Quarter Improvement Authority, so they could pass it along to, so they would have it for their, they would have it, but also for their design consultant would have access to all of those materials to understand the character of the area, the nature of the area, the vision for the area.
And so I would, if I can say something else, Maddie.
By all means, I'm clearly,
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it.
I just want to make sure, like, Maddie, do we want to try to have this meeting in the future? I believe it's spring 2022, where they're going to come in and do a visioning exercise. We want to do it at an NCBDA meeting as well. Just trying to plan ahead and think about it. So I think there's going to be plenty of.
Well, if they decide that they're making the decision and they don't want it there, it wouldn't matter, would it? I guess we'll have to wait to see if they think that we could, because they're making the decisions. I don't think that we could do that. We can say that because they're making the decisions on what happens.
Okay, that's all I got.
There will be multiple things, though, to discuss as it relates to the street and the streetscape through this board, through NACD, and with the larger community. And I think that's that is the focus. Those are the things that will be discussed. Is again the streetscape elements, the street itself, on-street parking, bus stops, and what they look like. And those are up for discussion and for shaping. And that is the, that is the major project that I wanted to share tonight within the proposed boundary. So I have two questions to answer, or to get someone back here to answer for you. One is the order, and then Damien's specific question, which I think would probably be best dealt with a reach out directly to you, Damien. And then, the order, and, just kind of explain why the order is what it is, and if there's any flexibility in that order. I think that Public Services is also anxious to come and talk, with a little more detail about the timeline of the project, when meetings would occur, how meetings should be held, assist with outreach and any of those details. So, whether that's January or February, to get into that, we'll know soon, but please expect someone to come back and provide more information as this project kicks off.
Does anyone have any more questions? Thank you for the update, and I am not going to say anything else. The comments that I made were made 10 years ago by residents, and it clearly isn't affecting anything. So our next, we actually have moved around on our agenda. We are at, hello?
Where we at, Maddie, on the agenda?
We actually voted on the 22 calendar. No one had an issue with the dates that were there. We approved the attorney for the legal counsel. The only thing that would be left are community comments.
Okay.
There are no citizen comments at this time.
Director's comments. We do not have a director. Are there any other items that has not been discussed that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, can I have a motion for adjournment, please? Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, I didn't ask about discussion, but so I assume there is no discussion. It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hope everyone has a great holiday. I think
Merry
that
Christmas, Happy New Year.
yes,
Yep. Everybody
I
have a good
hope
holiday.
everyone-
Yeah.
All right.
How
we
they
need to
do
move
that?
forward.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Back to
Same.
bye-bye.
And thanks to everyone for sticking it out. We are here, whether we're being heard or not. We are here.
You're appreciated. You're appreciated.
We all are. I appreciate
Yes, absolutely.
John, everyone, and all of our opinions, and
Absolutely.
and we have love for each other, even if we disagree. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.
Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.